Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're digging into one of the most fundamental things on the planet, how we feed ourselves. For about 10,000 years, agriculture has been based on one basic model. But here's the thing, what if that very model is the root of some of our biggest environmental problems? And what if there's a totally different way to do it, an alternative inspired by nature itself? And that really gets to the heart of what we're talking about today. What if our farms could actually build healthy soil instead of destroying it? I know, it sounds almost too good to be true, right? But as we're about to see, it might just be the key to a truly sustainable future. So at the core of all this, you've got two completely different ways of growing food. On one side, there's annual agriculture. You know, corn, wheat, soy, the stuff that lives for one season. We have to plow the earth and plant them every single year. I mean, pretty much our entire global food system, it's built on this. And on the other side, you have perennial agriculture, plants that live for many, many years, keeping the soil covered with a stable network of roots. That's how nature does it. And believe me, that difference, it's everything. Okay, so to really get why this perennial idea is so powerful, we first have to wrap our heads around the status quo. Let's dig into the problems that are just baked into the way we farm today. The technical term for this whole system is annual monoculture. It's really simple, huge fields of just one crop that has to be replanted from scratch every year. And the key part of that, the thing you really need to focus on, is that it requires clearing and tilling the soil every single year. It's like we're hitting a giant reset button on the entire ecosystem, year after year after year. So what's the cost of hitting that reset button for thousands of years? Well, that bill's coming due, and the numbers, honestly, they're staggering. So let's really look at the hidden costs of the food on our plates. Okay, get ready for this number. With the way we farm now, we are losing soil 360 times faster than nature can possibly create it. I mean, just let that sink in. That's not a sustainable equation, right? It's basically a mining operation. We are literally mining our soil just to grow our food. And if you zoom out to a global scale, what does that look like? It looks like 24 billion tons of fertile topsoil gone, washed or blown away every single year. That's like several tons for every man, woman, and child on the planet, just gone. This slide frames the problem perfectly. On one side, you have what natural ecosystems give us for free. They call them ecosystem services. Things like building soil, holding onto nutrients, keeping pests in check. But our modern farms, they don't just fail to provide those services, they actually create the opposite, what you could call disservices. We're literally causing the erosion, the pollution, and the pest outbreaks that nature would normally solve for us. Now, you might be thinking this is all an ecological story, right? But it's also a powerful economic one. See, farmers themselves are often trapped in this brutal system, something folks call the agricultural treadmill. It's this relentless cycle that puts huge pressure on their finances and on the land. Okay, so here's how this trap works. It starts when some new tech comes along, right? Maybe a better tractor or a new kind of fertilizer. The first few farmers who use it get a little boost. But then, of course, everyone starts using it. Production goes way up, and what happens? Food prices drop. And boom, all of a sudden, every single farmer has to adopt that new tech and probably get bigger just to make the same amount of money they were making before. The result is more pressure on the land, razor-thin profits for farmers, and the whole treadmill just starts up again. It's this crazy system where everyone is making a rational choice for themselves, but the collective outcome is, well, it's pretty damaging for everyone. But what if there was a way to just step off that treadmill completely? And that brings us to the big pivot in our explainer today. We're talking about a radical alternative, one with totally new roots for agriculture. Let's dive into this nature-inspired idea. This whole vision has been championed for decades by people like Wes Jackson, the founder of the Land Institute. And his idea, his powerful quote here, is that we could literally transform agriculture from something that degrades soil into something that builds it. So what's the big idea here? How do we do that? Well, the core idea is actually brilliantly simple. We need to design our farms to look and act like natural prairies. I mean, think about it. Prairies are some of the most fertile ecosystems on the planet. They build their own soil, they manage their own water, they thrive for thousands of years with no plowing, no fertilizer. So what if a farm could do that too? And that right there is what we're going to call the perennial promise. And to really get it, we have to look underground. Because it's the roots, these deep, incredible roots, that change absolutely everything. Okay, so first, let's look at a typical annual crop, like this wheat. Its whole goal in life is to pump out as much seed as possible in one season. So its roots, they're pretty shallow. And the worst part, after the harvest, for months and months, that soil is just left bare, totally exposed. Okay, now look at the difference with something like Kernza. This is a perennial grain they've been developing, and it is a total game changer. Instead of focusing on seeds, it puts more than half its energy into building this unbelievable root system, reaching down over 2.5 meters deep. And here's the key. Those roots stay in the ground all year, every year, protecting and feeding the soil. So, what do those incredible roots actually do? Well, for one, they act like a giant sponge. This chart here shows something called nitrate leaching. That's just a fancy way of saying fertilizer leaking out of the soil. Think of those shallow annual roots like a leaky pipe. They just let all those valuable nutrients and money wash away, polluting our rivers. But the deep roots of Kernza, they're like a super efficient plumbing system, soaking all that stuff up. The data shows it can cut this kind of pollution by an incredible 86%. It keeps our water clean and keeps the fertility right there in the field where the plants need it. Hey, remember that disservices slide we looked at earlier? Well, a perennial system just flips that whole thing on its head. We're not just stopping the damage anymore, we're actively restoring the very ecosystem services we'd lost. They're building soil organic matter, they're pulling carbon out of the atmosphere, they're soaking up water to make farms tougher against drought, and they're creating these diverse habitats that help keep pests in check naturally. Basically, this system starts to break the agricultural treadmill because it reduces the need for all those expensive inputs in the first place. Okay, I know. This all sounds pretty amazing, right? So you have to ask, if this is so great, why aren't all our farms already like this? Well, turning this vision into a reality means we have to face some very real, very big challenges. The hurdles really fall into three main buckets. First up is plant breeding. I mean, we've spent 10,000 years perfecting annual crops for huge yields. It's going to take decades of serious work to get perennials to that same level. Second, you've got the economic system itself. Everything from the tractors and combines to the global supply chains, it's all built around the annual model. And finally, there's political will. The current system is pretty locked in by powerful interests and, government subsidies that are all designed to keep things just the way they are. But, and this is a big but, it's not all doom and gloom. There is real momentum building. You see it in the huge growth of the organic market. People are clearly asking for more sustainable options. And think about those farmers stuck on the treadmill. The idea of cutting their costs for fuel, for fertilizer, for seeds, that's a really powerful reason to change. So the main takeaway here is that change is possible, and it's being pushed forward by these real-world pressures. When you boil it all down, what this shows us is that our food system isn't just some fact of nature. It's a choice. We can choose to keep going down the same path, when that erodes our soil, pollutes our water, and keeps farmers on that treadmill. Or we can choose to plant new roots, to design a way of farming that actually restores our world while it feeds us. So the real question, the one left for all of us, is what future are we going to choose to grow?